Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be having a conversation about my number one Pokemon product you need to pick up right now and why. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. As always, get out of the way. We do weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed, leave a like, and comment down below on any of the pre-recorded videos we post each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, you can comment and like on each one of those videos so that allows you for multiple entries. And then, of course, as well, we've got 3 winners each and every week, so that's multiple opportunities to win. If you don't already know as well, we've been recently pushing the Discord quite a bit because we've been pushing a lot of really good deals from other websites, specifically for Black Friday. All the links to those website deals are down in the Discord deals section, so I highly recommend you join to take advantage of that. And if, of course, you don't already know as well, we recently opened a game store. That game store is called E4 Cards. I highly recommend, if you want to support the channel and check out our selection of singles, go to e4cards.com. And if you just want to buy any sort of other specialty product, such as our PokemartUSA official mystery packs, check out PokemartUSA.com, link down in the description below. But now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump into the topic. So for today's topic, obviously everyone wants to just get to the point, right? Eli, what is the number one box and why? Now, we can do this one of 2 ways. I can either sit here and I can just try and milk it and then give you the one box, or I can just show it to you now. And if you care as to why it's important, then of course we can have that conversation. You stick around for the rest of the video. And of course, although that might affect my retention if I do it that way, I'm just going to sit here and not waste people's time. And if you just want to click to this point, then great. You can just click to this point of the video, and that's what we're going to do. The number one item that I feel as if you need to pick up right now, it's the Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection Charizard. And as mentioned in our last video on Monday, we have Black Friday deals list going on. And one of the sites that's gone crazy recently is Full Grip on their holiday site section, and one of those is the Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection, which they have for currently $99.99, free shipping over $150. That's an insane deal for a product. Of course, when we first had the conversation, Eli, what do you think is the best point to enter in? 160, 180 was the first argument. Then I changed that to 140, 160, and then I said, hold off, guys. I think you're actually going to be able to get this at MSRP, and now we're seeing some sites sell it for below MSRP. So things have started to get crazy. And with that, I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, this is insane that you're able to now get a product like this so close to wholesale and, you know, well below MSRP. Not to mention the fact of the matter, this is a 2-wave product, guys. This product is going to be available more than likely at this price, readily available, going into its second wave sometime in December. So I'm just of the personal belief that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for this product to be readily available for people to buy at below MSRP at this point. I thought it was a pipe dream that we would ever see MSRP, and now we're seeing prices below MSRP, and that's crazy. Of course, the question with that is, why are the prices going so much down so much? And it's quite obvious. It has nothing to do with the demand. The demand for this product initially was extremely high. And it ultimately comes down to the fact that the supply of this product has absolutely skyrocketed. There is so much supply for this product, it is ridiculous. And I know that historically speaking, if you've been around the channel for a while, I've always said the same exact thing, and that's what we're going to break down in this video, because I always get the same question asked to me. Eli, aren't you scared? Aren't you nervous over the fact that there's such a big supply, especially with nowadays Pokemon is printing stuff into the ground? And to that, I say, no, I'm not scared whatsoever. So it's one of those things for me that I honestly am just totally invested in getting in at a really good price, because long term, I think that supply is not going to matter. And of course, I'm going to break down and explain that, but use some examples for history. So first thing we're going to look at, we're going to use quite a bit of different websites and charts for things. But the first thing I really want to take a look at is the Google Trends chart. I've used this before. It's been a while since I've used it, but As mentioned, of course, before with the Google Trends chart, it follows very similar to what you can take a look at when looking at charts for crypto, traditional, and some other just, charts that you can use to make predictions on what's going to happen in the future, but also looking at the history of that specific asset, of course, this being Pokemon, and how we can track the history of how things have just historically performed. This is, of course, tracking just the keyword term Pokemon cards, just to see what the overall keyword search demand was for it at the time. So when we take a look and see, okay, well, obviously we had our big boom during the COVID pandemic, and we saw that roughly going into, of course, the end of 2020, starting at 2021 is when we started to see the overall climax of the boom. Historically, if we go back into the past, and we can see that the exact same thing happened in December of 2016, back when you had the Pokemon Go bubble. So we know that historically speaking, within the past two cycles, we'll say, or let's make this argument instead, within the past 7 to 8 years, the Pokemon market has started to become a trend. It started to become a true market. And you're seeing that be indicative of the fact that over time, there is exponential growth. And so why this is important and why this is relevant is because if you take a look at a lot of the product I'm going to show you, you're going to take a look at the history of this product when it first was doing really well, when it got reprinted, and then when it went out of print, and how that didn't really matter whether it was printed into the ground or not. So the first one we're going to take a look at is, I've done this one before, I'll do it again, Roaring Skies booster boxes. So for you guys that don't know, Roaring Skies booster boxes at their peak back during the day was pushing around $200. Also, if you're wondering where I'm getting this information from, there is this website called the Way Back Machine. It allows you to pull archived screenshots of certain websites where you can basically go through and take a look and see what some sites had screenshot prices of. And this is, of course, that of the website wholesalegaming.com, which sold Pokemon product at the time. Roaring Skies, the snapshot of this is September 9th, 2021. They had a product of Roaring Skies booster boxes listed for $175, which back in the day, when you're buying wholesale booster boxes for $70, $75, $175 is the equivalent of, I want to say, roughly around what Evolving Skies is at right now. So prices like this are crazy. And this is just what they were selling it for. I wouldn't be surprised market prices, you were able to go pick it up somewhere even more expensive on eBay, pushing $200. So a product like this, of course, being extremely high demand. And once again, as we demonstrated in the chart prior, this was around the time of the Pokemon Go bubble. So a lot of prices, whether it be shortly after, whether it be 6 months to a year after, you started to see that kind of correlation of product increasing in value. However, this was a set that was in rotation, and as mentioned before, there was an expected reprint to come out with it. Now, that reprint, of course, came out sometime in January, so we don't sadly have the history for it. But if we can go take a look at the next listing that they have on the Way Back Machine, it still shows us that the price dropped all the way down to $75 a booster box. The booster box item, of course, being at an extremely high point, like a very, very high point of $175, and then crashing all the way down to $75, which by that standard was wholesale prices. If we now look at what is going on right now, and we see that the price of Roaring Skies, what do you know? It's roughly around $450 to $500, depending upon where you're picking it up from. So what's the point I'm making with this general example? This product was one that was extremely high demand. It got printed into the ground, and then with that, over time, it ended up reaching a high point of $500, which sounds crazy to achieve, but the point that I'm making once again with this is it goes to show that no matter how much an item can be printed into the ground, as long as there's a general demand over time for that product and the supply continues to dwindle because these are deflationary items, then the value will go up. And I want to explain that for those of you guys that don't know what I mean by deflationary items. when you have Pokemon product like a booster box, right? Every time that booster box is opened, the supply of that specific item goes down. So the more of Roaring Skies booster boxes that are opened over time, then of course, the more that supply is going to go down. And that's the equation I feel like a lot of people don't really understand. You hear all the time, well, Eli, there's more people nowadays investing in the hobby than ever. There's more product being printed more than ever. Is that something that scares you? And the answer is no, because there's also more people opening product in the hobby more than ever. If there's anything I'm scared of, it's singles and grading singles in the ultra modern because of course, the overall supply compared to back then is so much higher. But that's a completely different story. Right now, we're focusing on sealed product, and sure, scalably speaking, more product is being made for booster boxes, more people are investing in it, but with that, you're seeing more people open it. And so the overall ratio in terms of product being printed and product being opened is still scalable, which is why they're going to do, of course, well over time. And with that is demonstrated once again in Roaring Skies. And we're going to go and we're going to take a look at a couple of different booster boxes. I want to say 4 or 5. The next one, of course, being Ancient Origins. Ancient Origins is a booster box that, once again, it was priced at roughly around $88, as you can see in September. If you want to go back a little bit farther to that, in June of 2016, the same year, it was priced at $88 as well. August, it went down to $75 after it got its reprint, and it sat at the $75 price point for a while. It didn't turn a profit, of course, if you had initially invested at $75. And this isn't even really a profit when you consider the fact of, fees depending upon where you're selling it for. But it didn't go back up in value if you're looking at the low point after it got its reprint for at least another year. So the amount of time you had to hold this item was extremely long just for it to go up roughly around $13. And that's something that is once again crazy to see, that historically speaking, a product like Ancient Origins, which if we of course go pull it up right now and take a look at the overall booster box price, we can see that it is priced roughly around $1,000 at the market price, at the lowest listings, but market price last sold was $885. So once again, an item like this, which it, of course, initially dropped at the price of $88, and initially dropped, I mean, that's what the price was when it first came out. And then it didn't even have the chance to go up like Roaring Skies did to high prices, but instead got a reprint that dropped the price down to $75. And then it sat at $75 for a while just for it to finally get back to $88. And then, of course, the question is, well, if it's just ranging between 75 and 88, which is by our standards an amazing deal. Of course, inflation is something that you have to take into consideration with that. But going to $800, $900, $1,000 for a product like this is a pipe dream. And that's considering that during the time, this was an item that wasn't even high demand. And so the comparison I'm trying to make with Ancient Origins when looking at it compared to Roaring Skies was a high demand product. It got printed into the ground. Ancient Origins was a low demand product. It got printed into the ground, not nearly as much as Roaring Skies. So with that, of course, having a lower supply than Roaring Skies, and over time, it actually ended up achieving a greater demand than Roaring Skies. And so that kind of combination has changed the overall price prediction point, which is why there's such a larger spread between the two. But once again, representing that products like this can, of course, go up over time extremely fast. Now we've got a couple of other booster boxes that we're going to be taking a look at, and one of those is Primal Clash, a booster box that was actually reprinted roughly around the same time Roaring Skies got its reprint. Of course, one thing you have to take into consideration, Primal Clash was a set, although it did go up to 135, which is more or less comparing it like the Brilliant Stars to the Evolving Skies by nowadays standard. It did not perform as well because Roaring Skies during the time had some extremely competitively viable cards, And that's one of the things that was making the set so high demand. Primal Clash was just a more in-demand set. Yes, there were competitively viable cards, but not nearly as much as Roaring Skies. And as you can see, that's why the price got up to $135, September 9th, 2016. Once again, this is during the same boom that we saw for the majority of product around the time of showing from our other booster boxes. Skip, of course, to the next available archive that we can see. Once again, it's around the same time as the Roaring Skies one. Couldn't see it in 2017, but we saw it in 2018 as seen in March 2018. You can see it in the top right of the screen if you guys just want to know exactly where I'm getting these dates from. And $75, once again, for a booster box like this. We'll just briefly take a look and see what the price is, of course, for this booster box. And what do you know? It's priced at slightly below what Roaring Skies is, $464 to $435. So, just kind of doubling down the point that I'm making with this. Now, this is where we're going to look at another example. Now we're going to look at items that were either high demand or low supply and are no longer in print rotation during that time. So once again, going back to, let's actually go back a little bit farther in history, right? Let's go back to November 27, 2015. This is before the Pokemon Go boom happened. You have Phantom Forces, a booster box that is currently sitting at, during the time, $88. You want to go back even further to May, still sitting at that $28 price point. March, it was $85 price point, and that's about as far back as we have to be able to look at the history of this item. Now, September, Pokemon Boom happened. All of a sudden, price goes up to $169, doubles in price. Then we jump to October. COVID bubble hasn't happened yet. Price jumps to $235. And now we go to November, still sitting at that $235 price point. And then jumping all the way to January, it's still sitting at that $235 price point. Now, as you guys know, for Phantom Forces, booster box prices for it are roughly around the range of anywhere between $1,400, give or take, depending upon where you're buying it from. So products like this, which were still readily available at an affordable price before they went out of rotation and after they went out of rotation, saw a boom, of course, because of what happened during the Pokemon Go bubble, and still found value or still increased in value even after the fact. Once again, what is this showing? Historically speaking, this is telling us that high demand product, Phantom Forces being the first set to ever introduce a silver card, not to mention as well, it has Gengar as one of the main characters in it, which is a high demand character. It shows us that the opportunity for this set historically was performing extremely strong, even after the bubble had popped for Pokemon Go, and when the next bubble happened around or came around, it performed even better. Now, the last booster box we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Plasma Freeze. This is a little bit of an older booster box, but it is one that we do have sales history for, and I think is also a good tell and showing of a set that was out of rotation. $120 was the market price at 2015. Of course, this was several years after the release, but $120 for a booster box like this during the time was a fairly decent price. We then jump to, of course, that same kind of time, 2016 September, 2016 September all the way to December, as we demonstrated with the Pokemon cards Google Trends chart. This is when the demand was at its highest when it came to keyword searches. So Plasma Freeze went from $120 to $285. And currently speaking, the booster box price is now roughly around $2,000. Once again, all in all, saying and talking about the same thing, and looking at just the history of all these booster boxes, kind of making my general statement, general point. When you look at the history of all the examples I gave examples of items in rotation. I gave examples of items out of rotation. I gave examples of items that got reprints when they were at high price points. I gave examples of items that got reprints when they were not at high demand price points. And so more or less, this just goes to show that the Pokemon Company is not afraid to reprint a product into the ground, whether it's high demand, whether it's low demand. And historically speaking, all these items have performed extremely strong. Of course, this was during the times of their bubbles. And for those high demand items, they still perform strong even outside of the bubbles, aka Phantom Forces as a perfect example, after it had gone out of rotation. So with that, my prediction for the Pokemon Charizard UPC is this. And this is an item that is going to sit around either that MSRP price point or below. People are going to get fearful. They're going to say that it is now a brick because there is so much of it in supply, and because of that, it is going to be an item that a lot of people pass up on. People, of course, are looking at the way in which the just overall dynamic of the American economy is, or just the world economy, and they're seeing that things are not looking so hot right now, so there's going to be a lot of speculation on what's going to happen within the next couple of years with the market. Now, of course, as demonstrated in the examples I gave, for high demand products, they're going to still perform fairly well. Even if they've been reprinted in the ground, it's just going to take them a little bit more time. However, regardless of whether it performs well, historically speaking, we can see that in both instances of the 2016 Pokemon Go bubble and the 2020 to 2021 pandemic bubble for Pokemon, at the end of the day, prices still exploded. So what does this mean? When you have an item which we know is going to be high demand and it's been printed into the ground, we know that it doesn't really matter what the print of that product is. All that we really care about is time. And we know that with it being such a high demand item, time as well as that demand is going to be its greatest asset, because supply will just continue to dwindle. And that's why, personally speaking, it is my number one pickup. Now, I know, of course, for those of you guys that decided to stay and actually watch my in-depth analysis, it's less of a video for explaining to why this just number one item is amazing or it's great. I don't have to explain that to you guys because you already know why this item is so in high demand. But there's been a lot of fear and speculation around it because of supply. This is more of a breakdown video, and I'm explaining to you the history of Pokemon and how they like to do things and why you shouldn't be afraid, and you should, of course, take advantage of the opportunity to be able to get this item at such an amazing price. As Warren Buffett likes to say, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. But as far as it goes for today's video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to enter into our weekly giveaways. We, of course, post content for you to comment and like on each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can comment and like on each video, so that allows you for multiple entries. And then we've got 3 winners each and every week, so we've got multiple opportunities to win. If you haven't already joined the Discord, I highly recommend you do so, as that's where the majority of our links are, in the deals section of the Discord, for you to be able to access a lot of the pre-Black Friday deals links. And then, as mentioned before, if you don't already know as well, we are selling singles on our new local game store's website, E4 Cards. And if you're just interested in supporting the PokemartUSA channel and participating in our mystery pack product, I highly recommend that you go check us out at PokemartUSA.com. But that is all for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you all on Friday. Peace.